Are you heading to London on holiday? Or do you live in London already? I have an interesting new venture launching on October 14th that I know you'll love. I'm bringing you my Lush Life Cocktail Tours of Soho. On each tour, you'll be introduced to some of the most famous bars and bartenders in London, all while sipping their celebrated cocktails and learning about Soho's drinking history. Check out lushlifecocktailtours.com for more information, where you can find a link to book your spot, or book directly through TripAdvisor. Don't miss this sophisticated romp through Soho. Hope to meet you there. Now let's get on with the show. Jennings Cox is one of the biggest names in cocktails. History has remembered him as the, quote, inventor of the daiquiri. But as David Wonrich, the famous drinks historian, says, quote, the daiquiri represents such an obvious marriage between local, as in Cuban, ingredients, rum, sugared limes, and American technology, cocktail shaker ice, that it would take the chowder, headedest, duffer, whoever buttoned a trouser not to invent it. Whether Cox did or didn't, it's a great drink and has remained one of the classics since the late 1800s. Our guest today might not have invented it, but move over Jennings Cox. Sly Augustin is in town, and he's made the daiquiri his own. I'm Susan Schwartz, your drinking companion, and this is Lush Life Podcast. Every week, we're inspired to live life one cocktail at a time by the best in the industry. Check any list of the best bars in London, and Trailer Happiness is always at the top. That would be because of the dedication efforts of its owner, Sly Augustin. Today on Lush Life, Sly recounts how he fell for Trailer Happiness as a customer, and since buying the place, he continued to make it a home away from home. Its tongue-in-cheek tiki vibe give it a party atmosphere. And although it's on the lower ground floor, you would swear you were sunning yourself on a beach holiday, drinking the best cocktails on the island. Which I guess the UK is. Oh, and did I mention they have amazing cocktails?
So I moved about a little bit, but all within very tight confines of West London. So I spent part of my early life. I was born in a house on Fernhead Road, which is in between Westbourne Park and Queen's Park, and went to school in Maida Vale. Lived in South Cuban, went to school in Ladbroke Grove, and went to college in Amsterdam, West London.
So you're a Londoner through and through.
100%, like proper Londoner, and also mostly a West Londoner. You know, it's a terrible thing to get caught up with postcodes and and areas, because we're all people, right? But West London people are better.
Obviously. Because now your bar is in West London too.
Yes, right?
Yeah. So for the foreseeable future, you will remain a West Londoner.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I've got no choice now.
Now, you said you went to college in London,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
obviously.
Yeah.
What were you studying?
So initially, I studied performing arts.
Oh.
Yeah, performing arts, which was amazing, actually, really good. And I didn't realize at the time, but West London is one of the best places to study any kind of performing arts, whether that's music or drama.
What were you doing? Acting, music,
yeah, well,
what?
we so at this stage, it encompassed all aspects of it, of the all disciplines. So there was music, there was drama, there was writing, and it was really good. I think just for a young person, kind of getting to know yourself and learning how to perform in front of an audience is very useful.
Were you drawn to one of the disciplines and specifically?
That's a good question. I enjoyed the collaboration of working on like a play, or like, you know what I mean, like working with other people's ideas, like steal an idea and then kind of expanding on that.
So like the let's put on a show kind of mentality.
Or that might be somebody else's voice, and then I'd be like, great, and then maybe add something to it, or You know, I wouldn't necessarily be the one charging through, but I feel like I'd have a good contribution, you know, something to add, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like I feel like if you've got a good idea, I can make it better. That's kind of how I kind of worked within drama when we were doing stuff.
Did you think that that's what you were going to kind of do when you grew up?
Not really. Not really.
You were more sensible than that.
Yeah, well, you know, friends that I studied with have gone on to become professional actors, and I have great careers currently, doing exceptionally well. So I don't think it was a case of this can't happen. I just felt it was a case of, do I want to do this? Because I'm very, as much as I am very comfortable performing and being in front of people, I'm also quite private in many ways. So I was just like, do I want to be all in, trying to be, trying to be not famous, but trying to be that person that is, belongs to everybody, if that makes sense. You know, that was kind of how I felt about it. Because, if you're an actor, you have to put yourself forward all the time. You've got to be putting yourself
even when
forward
you're shopping,
constantly.
You have to, you're shopping for food, you're still Tom Hanks.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, that's a problem. I mean, that's a great problem to have. But I mean, I'm talking about more on a lower level where it's like, if you don't get up and get out there, you don't eat. You know what I mean? You've got to be out there hitting those streets, putting your name forward for everything and blah, blah, blah. And that just kind of felt a little bit, and I've actually been on the other side of castings where friends ask me, I'm casting for this thing, would you come and like sit in with me? And I see people come, and it's something really quite brave, and also quite vulnerable about just selling yourself to complete strangers. It's something that actors and models do. So I've got friends who are models, and they would go for castings, and you're going to get rejected a lot, and you just keep cracking on.
Oh boy!
You just keep cracking on with it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, man, I'm too sensitive. I'm way too sensitive for that lifestyle. Do you know what I mean?
So after you left there, what were you thinking?
So after I left there, I transitioned to more. So creativity is always like where I want to be at. I want to be creating, and I was always really into illustration and graphic design and stuff like that. So I kind of changed changed the topic and the focus of what I was doing, and then I went on and did graphic design. That's what and technical drawing, and that's what I say. Graduated.
So you were handy with a pen before that.
I've always been into drawing. That's always been something that I've been into, and I ended up just kind of randomly falling into a position where I was able to work at a company, an agency that built websites and did really cool stuff with massive companies like Walt Disney and 20th Century Fox and stuff like that. So I worked in this agency at the top of the game, and it just it really kind of opened my understanding of work. I think that was a great time. I've had 2 proper jobs. One was IKEA, and one was working for that agency, and I love both of them. But they put me in good stead. Both of those for different reasons.
Were you still working there when you started to drink at, I guess, Canvas Trailer Happiness?
Absolutely, yeah. So what happened was when I started working at the agency, which was called Foresight, we used to spend a lot of time at bars. All of our staff meetings, because the company was doing really well. And we'd have office meetings. They'd just hire an entire pub or whatever, and we'd just be in there and just be hanging out. And I developed a taste for that kind of social aspect. Like, how can I say? Before that, I think me and my friends would most likely go out to nightclubs or go out to a rave or a dance, right?
So less about the drink,
less
more
about
the
daytime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was less about that kind of conversational consumption of alcohol, right? That's something that I developed working for an agency, because we had, even though I was doing graphic design, the agency itself did everything. It did traditional PR, did print media, it covered everything. So we had PR girls that used to work for us. And if you know anything about PR, you know that PR girls are the best at going out and having drinks with. You know what I mean? Like they're hosts, they're the ultimate hosts. They know where to go, best place to have a drink and everything else. So I kind of developed a taste for good nice vibes, for like good drinking spots, places where you can really kind of meet people, communicate. That was kind of what drew me into drinking.
Well,
and then
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, the groups of friends that you were going out with to these raves and clubs, was it hard to, or did you even try to get them over to the as you said, conversational cocktails, or did you just, that was two worlds? One was the drinking colleagues, and one was the really partying colleagues.
It was super easy, barely an inconvenience. So it was really easy because Trailer Happiness was the vehicle, right? So this is why I gravitated towards Trailer Happiness, because it was the perfect transition from that nightclub to that conversational appreciation of cocktails. And it fits, it's both of those things. You can go into Trailer Happiness, you can have a really good cocktail, you can have really good chat, banter with the bartenders, or you can go into Trailer Happiness and you can have a party, and you can dance and listen to really good music with, and appreciate the DJ. So
knowing you the little I do, everyone followed you. You're like, oh, your friends, come on over here.
The Pied Piper.
Yes, exactly. From raves to drinking.
Yeah, I definitely took hosting and that level of hospitality very seriously. Like if somebody came over from another country, friends came over from New York, whatever, I took it upon myself to make sure that they had the best possible time they could have. And I had a network of people who were either in bars or in clubs, Trailer Happiness being one of them, where I was guaranteed, I knew exactly what I was going to get, and I knew that if I brought somebody there, they were going to be like, this is amazing. All of these little places, so I could have maybe like 4 or 5 spots around London.
I was going to ask, what were those spots?
Right, so Trailer Happiness was one of them. The Atlantic Bar. The Atlantic Bar was one of them. The Atlantic Bar was one of the best spots to go to in central London, because it was open late, but it didn't have door girls, didn't have guest lists and all that kind of shenanigans. It just had a bouncer who was pretty cool, and nobody knew about it,
Then.
So then. Well, that's a lie. People knew about it, but what I would say is it didn't draw in like massive crowds of tourists or people from wherever that just wanted to come and get drunk. It was this was a little quiet, and that was very much a place where we could go and have conversation, and the champagne was cheap in there, relatively speaking, for the West End. So the Atlantic Bar was definitely a spot I used to go to. I used to go to the Fridge Bar in Brixton. That was definitely on my list of spaces to go to. There was a spot in North London, actually, in Angel. There's a club in Angel. I can't remember the name of the club for the life of me, but Angel had a spot basically dotted around London, and for depending on the time of the day and the day of the week, I had a place that I could take somebody and they'd be like, yeah, this is cool, London is cool. Because London is very unforgiving. If you don't have somebody to show you around, you're not just going to stumble into some fabulous evening.
Only if you're super, super lucky.
If you're super lucky. But for the most
part... And we're talking, this is pre any internet, so...
Exactly. There's no social media. So you would come to London and you'd have the worst time ever. You'd be like, I don't like it here. But it's like, no, London's great. It's just really... It's like...
And of course the hotel bars then weren't the hotel bars now as well.
Exactly. I think when I think of hotel bar, I think the first hotel bar I can think of that kind of stepped into that space of being kind of cool was probably the Sanderson.
Yeah,
Trying to
I
think
guess
when that
you're
kicked
right.
off.
Because the Savoy was always the Savoy, but that was you had to be dressed a certain way, looking a certain way, whatever, you couldn't get in.
Yeah, no remotely cool young people were going to the Savoy. It just wasn't.
Also, I remember Zinc in Hendon Street.
Oh my God!
That was in the 90s.
Yeah,
you can see I've been going to a
wow,
lot of
wow. Yeah,
that too.
I was out in the streets back then as well. But yeah, it was. I think
yes,
that was
but hotel
place.
bars.
But
Yes, definitely. Sanderson was the first to be
that you could go to
kind of cool
and kind of hang out on a cool kind of vibe. But that's how I built up my network of places, and obviously Trailer Happiness was and still is minutes from my house, 10 minutes away. So it was just a go-to place. I knew consistently what they were delivering, and it just became my little safe place.
Before we get to the story of you and getting into taking over Trailer Happiness and everything, I just wanted to know what your relationship with rum was like before that. Was that the drink that you were ordering when you were going to the Atlantic Bar, the one you can't remember in northern London? Yeah. And Trailer Happiness was always, tiki-esque, but what? Your family is from the island.
So my dad was born in London, but his parents were Jamaican, my grandparents on that side. And then my mother was born in St. Lucia. She came here when she was 6 years old. So, and it's really interesting. For me, rum was not, if we look at where rum is now and where it's heading, there's a lot of focus on premiumization. That wasn't a thought in my mind at that time. Rum was simply, how can I put it? I guess it would be like pasta to an Italian. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just part of your DNA. It's there. It's everywhere. It's in every house. It's in every family home. It's at every christening, wedding, event. It's just a staple thing. You don't think of it as something that's gonna become your life's work or anything like that.
Do you remember the rums that were in your house specifically? Was it Jamaican, St. Lucian?
Yeah.
Was there a battle between the two?
No.
One week, one the next?
No, it was Jamaican rums definitely dominated. So, Ray and Nephews. Funny enough, Bajan rums at the time, but it would have been Cockspur. So there was a lot of Cockspur floating around at that time as well. St. Lucian rums didn't export. So unless somebody went home and came back with some, you weren't likely to see that floating around. And it wasn't really until I started to go back to St. Lucia as a teenager that I kind of developed my own relationship with rum, personally choosing what I like and what I don't like.
Does that mean that when you went to the bars, did you avoid rum cocktails, knowing
when
that...
I went to clubs, I
had that at home. It's something I always have at home. I'm not going to have that. I want to have the gin cocktail or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, so there'll be two things. If you went to any bar, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the rums that they have is going to be standard rums, right? So it might be a Bacardi or Captain Morgan, or it might be just like a regular generic rum, and it's fine, but it wasn't fancy.
You're like, I can do this better at home, kind of like
I can do it in my house.
Italian food. I can do this better at home.
Exactly.
Right.
So for me, again, I'm from West London, so one of the things about West London is we can be quite wanky. Do you know what I mean? Like we can be like just wanky, man. So you go out and you want to have a glass of champagne, and Is
this the West London now or the West London then?
I think
or both.
I don't know about now. I think everybody's wanky now. I think we've just changed everybody. Everybody's West London.
Different level of wankitude.
Let me not even categorize it as West or any kind of part of London. And I'll just say that London in general right now has transformed the world. I remember when I first went to New York, their clubs were on a different kind of vibe completely. They weren't so into bottle service as they are now. It completely every club I go to anywhere on earth now pretty much feels the same. But back in the day, you go, in London, the club scene was champagne, bottles of champagne or stuff like that. So in my youth, in those days when I was out clubbing, I was all about bubbles and just fancy, anything that was kind of fun. And to be fair, I love a glass of champagne. Even today, I can happily sit down and smash a bottle of champagne. It's no problem. As much as I love rum, sometimes.
So you were going and ordering champagne?
That was what I would be ordering. If I was out in a club, I'd order champagne. I didn't start to order proper rum drinks. Probably, think about this. I mean, again, when I was in St. Lucia, all I would drink was rum.
Right.
So if I go home, I call it home. I was born here. But if I go back to to where my parents are from, I'm drinking rum. For two reasons. One, that's what's there. But then the second one was they did great rum drinks. You know what I mean? You'd be on the beach at these little spots and they'd make delicious rum cocktails. So it was just perfect. I didn't find that. I didn't experience that in London until I went to Trail of Happiness.
Was that an aha moment? You think, when you said, oh yeah, they do this well here?
I don't know if, I guess so. In a way, it was.
I guess because you kept going back there.
Yeah. So.
Of course, I'm answering your question for you.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. So the key factors so we look at this whole situation, right? Key factors that Trail of Happiness had was super welcoming, delicious drinks, but I'll be remiss if I didn't mention the number one pulling power of Trail of Happiness, which was it's the best date spot on the planet. Like, there is no better place as for a person, especially as a young guy, to take a date than Trail of Happiness.
I love that you said that, because I thought you were going to say, oh, the selection of rum. No, you went right to dating.
Oh yeah, no, it was just incredible.
Because it's kind of dark, it's downstairs.
It's cozy.
Yeah.
The energy in Trail of Happiness is very feminine, right? It's very feminine, and so when female customers come into the bar, they feel very comfortable. And that is the most important thing that you can do is make your date feel comfortable.
I love it.
Do you know what I mean?
So how many dates did you bring? Oh, that's a personal question. I know, I'm only choosing you. All right.
I would
say
say
Sly's on another date at Trailer Happiness.
They would never do that because they were professionals.
Right.
But they would also treat me so well, because this is something as well. Because I used to promote clubs in the West End. And you really quickly understand the monetary value of a human being. Because they will attribute monetary value to a person based on their gender, their race, and their class. And depending on where you fall in those categories, that would have a direct relation to the level of service you got, right? So you would walk into a place and you would see it and you would feel it.
I guess that kind of still happens now.
100% it does. But Trail of Happiness was the first place that I went to where that was completely irrelevant. I never got a sense that they based service on anything other than whether or not you were, just a nice person.
Right.
Like, if you're just a decent human being, they treated you as such. And that was massively important to me, because obviously if I'm bringing my friends and family to the venue, I want them to be treated as friends and family. So that was, that was a massive part of it. And I'd go in there, maybe on a date, maybe not, maybe just with friends, and they treat me that way. And I used to have parties in there often. Had my birthday party there every New Year's Eve. It was just a really nice.
How many years are you talking?
So this is over a period. This is between. So it transitioned into Trail of Happiness in 2003. By the way, I actually met the owner of Canvas, both the owner of the building and the bar manager, while it was open, and he was amazing to me as well. I went in there; it was really empty. I guess that's why it didn't stick around that long. But even though it was empty, the service was still brilliant. It was still really nice, and the place still felt really cool. But when it turned into Trailer Happiness, they just took it another level. So remember what I was saying to you about before about I like the idea of taking an idea and making it better. And I think that's what Trailer Happiness did with Canvas. So they took a really cool spot and just made it so much better. And, my relationship with them started in 2003 and it ran all the way to 2012, on and off. I had periods of being there a lot, then I'd go away for a while, then I'd come back. And it was just, like I say, it was just a safe space that I knew
right, you're
what I was getting.
Neighborhood
exactly.
place.
That's my neighborhood spot. Yeah.
Now, obviously being a customer someplace and, deciding to purchase it and then make it your own are two very, very big, different things, like worlds apart.
Yeah.
What was going on in your work life that you thought, oh, all right, I'm going to either give up that and start this? I mean,
so
talk me through that kind of decision to do that.
So it really was just a kind of like a combination of things lining up. Like it just lined itself up in a way that I couldn't ignore. Were you still doing the graphic design? I was still doing graphic design, but not for the agency. So what happened was, when I started working at the agency, it was the dot-com bubble. Everybody wanted a website, and they were prepared to pay whatever we told them for it. And we, like I say, we were a really healthy business. We expanded massively from when I joined the company to being from it being a small townhouse in Hammersmith to being Walt Disney's ex-offices with a cinema, with a full cinema in the office that we'd then go and watch movies for. That'd be part of our job. So it's a massive company, but then ultimately, as the companies became more aware and had a better understanding of the internet, they just started to take things in-house because they realized they didn't need an entire team of 10 people to build a website. They could just take that guy. They could just get the nerds and they could just pay him
and buy a theme
and then you know what I mean? They could pay a fraction of it. We weren't even quite at themes yet because now literally you can do everything, right? But yeah, so it started to get that you get more freelancers. It kind of broke down the system. So the work that we were getting, I remember it just, it went from us turning down jobs, being like, you're not a good fit for us. Sorry, no, we can't. You're not. Imagine that, like people trying to give you their money, and you're like, nah, you don't fit with us. It went from that to doing like absolute shit.
And then you're like, where are those companies now?
Exactly. And it just wasn't as fun. And then ultimately, people started to get made redundant. And I stuck around for a bit, and then they offered me redundancy, and I was like, yes, please. And that was a nice bit of money, and that kind of moved me fully into the hospitality side, because I started to be like, oh, I'm going to do events, and I'm going to do all this stuff, and I'm going to do a party in St. Lucia, and that took me away. I was still able to work, because the nature of web design, all you need is the internet access, and a computer. You can work from anywhere. So that untethered me, and enabled me to kind of float around and travel, spend a lot of time in New York and wherever I chose, wherever I wanted to be, because it didn't really matter. And I had properties, so I bought properties because I thought, let me do that. That's what grown-ups do when they got a bit of money. So I started to get into that stuff. And then I didn't like owning properties. I didn't like the constant having to pay service charges and fix things and all this. It was just not where I wanted to be at that point. So I was having a really good time in New York, so I decided I'm going to sell the properties, I'm going to move to New York. And while I was in the process of doing that, Trailer Happiness presented itself to me, just randomly on a night out in Trailer Happiness, conversation with the bartender at the time, was Alex Mazuris. And it just kind of, it rapidly escalated from a conversation to, okay, I think I'm going to buy the bar.
Now, you said you were on your way to New York. What were you thinking of doing when you got to New York?
No idea.
No, you just...
Yeah, I'm just confident in myself that I will be able to make it work.
Now, when you were in New York, did you gravitate towards bars again?
100%. So,
do you remember any of them then?
Okay, so there's one bar in particular, which I can't remember the name of, but anybody who's from New York will be able to tell me 100%. Right?
This is now a test, because I used to live in New York.
Oh, wow, okay. You should know this one. But then, okay, so on...
What year are we talking?
So this is 2003?
All right, that's when I left. So, okay, let's try.
This bar was around for ages. It's an old school bar. It was on, I want to say, Prince Street. Whatever street the Apple store's on.
Yeah.
It was on that street. You may have never even gone into it, right?
Right.
You'd be like, why would I go in there?
It's like racking my brain. Go ahead.
So it was kind of like a jazz. It was like a jazz lounge. Like it was like really old school. You know what I mean? Like you go in there, there'd be some old guy at the bar, and it was, oh man, I wish I could remember. I used to know what it's called. I forgot what it's called.
I'm going to find out, or try and find out by the end of this podcast.
Please, because
by the time that it's aired,
yeah,
I'm going to ask my friend who remembers everything from that.
Because
time.
Let me tell you what my routine was when I first, used to go to New York. I used to go to New York, and it was $2 to the pound.
It was
$2 to the pound.
When I moved here in 2003.
Right, oh my God, yeah, you got absolutely destroyed. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I used to go there. I used to go shopping on Broadway. My entire New York experience was like a 90-degree angle. It was just like I was staying on Bleecker Street. And I'd walk from Bleecker Street to Broadway. I can still feel the exact emotions of that time. It was like a surreal experience because I'd seen New York in the movies for years. I'd never been there. It's the first time I used to walk down Broadway, buy a bunch of sneakers and cool hip hop stuff, whatever I could get my hands on. And then I'd have all these bags, and then I'd be like, okay. And I'd go to the Apple store a lot because, amongst other things, I think at that point, had I started buying iPhones? I'm not sure. Anyway, I'd go to the Apple store, be around in that vicinity, and then there was just this bar there. And I went in there one day because I was like, I need to sit down. I fancy a cocktail. I fancy a drink. So I went into the bar and I just sat down there by myself, which I like to do as well. Go into bars that I've never been in, sit down, and just be, you know what I mean? Just be like a stranger in a strange. Like I like that feeling. And what became very apparent to me is American hospitality, or New York at that point, because I haven't been anywhere else in America. But it was very different to what I'd experienced in the UK in London. I think now there's a bit more parity. But back then, I wasn't used to that level of interaction, and apart from Trailer Happiness, which is in itself kind of modeled on American style of bar, right? It's like a California bachelor lounge, so it's got that vibe, and tiki as well.
Tiki, right?
So it has that sensibility. But I remember like going in there, and then I just started to go there again because if I find a place and I like it, I want to invest in that place.
So what were they saying? Hey, how you doing? Come on,
it would literally be that. It would just be like, or it would be like, oh, the bartender would introduce me to another regular. So there's this guy who's like and again, if I'd taken his name, he'd probably like really famous. But this guy was a jazz musician, and he introduced me to him, and then now he's my friend. And now when I come and he's there, we start talking. Now I know him. And then I remember like ordering a drink, and then the bartender was like, "No, this one's on me." And that was that gesture was like, "Wait, what?" I just had never experienced anything like it. Nobody's giving me free.
Drink for free? What's going on here?
No one's giving you drinks in London. Are you nuts? That's not a thing. But it was just a really the appreciation level. I felt very much more appreciated in New York than anywhere else I'd ever been. And I still do to this day. Actually, when I go to New York, just the love is really it's strong.
So when you decided to go ahead and buy Trailer Happiness, I know it must have been just like a wave of, oh my God, there's this to fix, there's this. But did you ever have, the foresight to think, I'm going to put this stamp on it? Or did you think this is a perfect little gem? I just want to see it grow and water it. Or did you think, I want to bring this to it?
So
were you I can't even think about that right now.
So I was really caught up. So if you look for me, I don't like being in. I don't like living in a comfort zone. I like to be comfortable, but I don't like to live in that space. So anything that kind of pushes me out. So the thing about it is like, it's like a leap, right? And once I do that thing, I can never go backwards. So it's guaranteed forward momentum. It's a lot of the reason why I do things I do and say yes to things I probably shouldn't say yes to. But if I feel like they're going to push me into a space that I can't reverse from, I'm inclined to do it. Okay. You know, because it's just another aspect of myself that I've added. I've just added another angle, right? Mm-hmm. You made yourself a little bit more full, if that makes sense, giving yourself a different vibe. So I knew that life wouldn't be the same if I purchased trailer. Like, it's a guaranteed shift, right? And that was the fundamental reason why I agreed to buy it. I had no idea exactly what I was going to do or what my involvement would be. And actually, initially, my plan was to be very silent in the business and to just kind of sit off in the background and let my partners kind of do all of the day-to-day stuff, and I just kind of dip in and dip out, you know, because I didn't understand bars at all, and I'd assumed that everybody made £1 million or whatever once they bought a bar. You're guaranteed to be rich, right? It wasn't until, you know, the actual reality of bar ownership came to be, and all of Trailer Happiness's warts revealed themselves, that I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have to change up. This whole mission is gonna need to. I'm gonna need to adapt. In order for this to succeed, I'm gonna have to adapt and take a different position. And ultimately, it's led to years of absolute magnificence, like just wonderful people. I consistently meet amazing people. I get to hang out with the best people. I get to go to incredible places. You know, like all this shall end at some point, of course. But what I have experienced to date is priceless. I honestly couldn't put a price on it.
Do you ever feel that you miss the graphic design
I
area,
graphic design every day.
You do? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. So again, the beauty of our industry in hospitality is that there isn't a skill set that can't be put to use. I can't think of a single skill set that is not useful in hospitality. I'm sure somebody will figure one out, but to my mind, everything. If you can do anything, we can use that.
Have you loved learning now more about rum and?
Absolutely. Yes.
I knew you were going to say that too. Of course you were. But.
Yes, absolutely. It's that actually has been, I think, one of the most interesting journeys, because, you know, when you own a business that is rum, it's one thing to just be a rum enthusiast or somebody who just, you know, drinks rum as a hobby, because you can live in a very small world of your own making. But when rum is your business, right, and you are effectively interacting with the general public, you cannot dictate. You know, you can't dictate you can try and steer things in a direction that suits you, but you can't dictate the present. So the market, the rum world is what it is today, right now. And you have to work with that understanding, right? And you have to try and figure out a way where you get to enjoy what you love, but you also get to be a functioning business that can survive, you know? So my journey has been really interesting, because my favorite rum 5 years ago is not my favorite rum today, and 5 years from now I don't know where I'll be. So it's definitely been really interesting, kind of evolving my own personal rum love.
So your rum education, when you drank it at home, just, you know, dipping your fingers in it, you know, when you were young, and I have this rum bar. Did you think, I have to learn everything right now? Oh my God, I have to learn everything about rum right at this moment?
No, absolutely not.
Or were you, this is going to be a lifetime journey of learning.
Yeah, because and I say this again, I'm a bar owner. I'm a bar owner. So therefore, my priority is the bar. That's and first and foremost, the customers experience, the customer satisfaction, all of these aspects, my staff, just mundane, boring stuff. This is the primary focus. And then on a personal level, I love rum. You know what I mean? And I enjoy rum. And so, but there is a distinction between myself as an individual and myself as an owner of Trailer Happiness, the rum bar. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
They're not. They sometimes they overlap and they combine, but they're not always on the same trajectory or the same path. Otherwise, the back bar would possibly look a little different. But that back bar represents a much broader expression of rum than what Sly likes. You know what I mean? So my education of rum has come about, I would say, quite organically. It's come about quite organically, and it's been based on having access. So I've been lucky enough to have access to some of the geniuses that make rum and some of the amazing people that promote and sell rum. I think rum as a category in spirits, I don't know if any other category can compare to rum in terms of personalities and what the kind of experiences that you're likely to you're likely to encounter when you're in the rum world, right? All the distilleries happen to be in some of the most beautiful places on earth, which is never a bad thing. But yeah, my rum journey, even in the last, I'd say in the last 2 years, it's just growing exponentially, and I look forward to continuing to push that knowledge, push my own understanding.
Should we go to the bar and have one of these delicious rum cocktails?
Absolutely.
Thanks so much to Sly for chatting to me today. On your next trip to London, I highly recommend heading up to Notting Hill to hit Trailer Happiness. Ask for Sly and tell him you met him on Lush Life. He's always there. So, of course, my cocktail of the week is the Daiquiri, just as they make it at Trailer Happiness. Mastering the art of daiquiri making is one of the fundamentals for any bartender, just as important as the martini, old-fashioned, or Manhattan. It's all about balance, and that can go so wrong. I guess the most famous daiquiri drinker was the author Ernest Hemingway. While in Cuba, he frequented El Floridita, one of the hotspots known for its daiquiris. One day, he asked for it a little less sweet, and voila! The Hemingway daiquiri was born, with double the rum, a little grapefruit, lime, and just a touch of maraschino cherry liqueur for sweetness. Still, many more folks loved a daiquiri. Jackie Kennedy even instructed the White House staff on how to make them, since it was her husband John's favorite cocktail. This is how Trailer Happiness makes it. They add 50 mLs of Don Q Crystal Rum, 25 mLs of lime juice, and 20 mLs of sugar syrup to a shaker. Then they add the ice and shake vigorously. Then they strain it into a chilled coupette. The sun hits your face as you take your first sip. You'll find this recipe and more rum recipes, plus all the cocktails of the week at alushlifemanual.com, where you'll also find all the ingredients in our shop. I've started to order a daiquiri at each bar I try, just to see how they make theirs. Really, everyone has been different. I have to admit my preferred has to be on a beach, frozen, and sometimes with passion fruit. I am no snob. One thing not to do is to drink 17 of them. Hemingway claimed he had done it in one sitting at El Floridita. Always drink responsibly. If you live for Lush Life, would you consider supporting us by buying us a coffee? Just go to buymeacoffee.com/lushlife and you can donate once or monthly to make sure we are still here every Tuesday. Also, you know how much I love to talk about cocktails, and we can all be together talking on the flick.group/lushlife app. It's free to join and works on Android and iOS devices. Plus, you can listen to the latest episodes right there if you want to catch up. Theme music for Lush Life is by Steven Shapiro and used with permission. And Lush Life is always and will be forever produced by Evo Terra and Simpler Media Productions. Which leaves me to say the wise words of Oscar Wilde. All things in moderation, including moderation, and always drink responsibly. Okay, the second part was mine. Up and coming on Lush Life, we sit down with a former carpenter who definitely knows how to build a cocktail. And now he's doing it with Glenfiddich. Until next time, bottoms up.